Well, I want you to picture this. It is a sunny afternoon, and my family is on a lake in Kansas called Lake Wilson. The lake's very much like the Sea of Galilee. It's surrounded by these towering landscapes that kind of blocked your view from the world and what was happening outside. We're on my uncle's boat enjoying kind of a scenic, leisurely cruise around the lake when out of nowhere, this storm appeared on the horizon. And we found ourselves on the opposite side of the lake from where our campers and tents were. Now, my dad, being the cautious one of the group, suggested that we go around the curve of the lake where we'd be closer to land and the storm if anything severe happened. But my uncle always wanted to take the different route, suggested we just go across the lake as fast as we could. He declared, "We'll beat the storm, it will be no problem." Well, that storm taught us a powerful lesson in humility and what you think you can beat and not. Going deep sea fishing, riding on a roller coaster, taking the plunge at the Water World ride, none of that left me seasick. But this ride, everyone wanted to puke by the time we got to the other side. Up and down, the waves and the wind, the lightning, it was absolutely awful. We got to the other side and everybody's just kind of stumbling around, feeling sick, except my uncle, who thought it was a dandy of a time. Our bodies are pretty amazing things. They'll tell us what's happening in our world. If we feel anxious or upset or threatened, our bodies will tell us that. But our bodies cannot always differentiate a threat to our physical being like a storm in the sea or a threat to our ego, a threat to our person, a feeling of anxiety about a situation. As I opened with worship today, I said there are mistakes and there are mistakes. We make little mistakes, such as grammar errors or getting someone's name wrong. It causes some mild embarrassment. But then there are mistakes that bring with it humiliation and shame. Have you ever hit the wrong button on an email? Replied all when you should have only replied to one. Or maybe you've hit reply but thought you were forwarding it to someone else and you proceeded to tell that person what you thought about them or the said situation or whatever was happening. We want to run. We want to hide. We want to bury our heads in the sand. And our body feels sick. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. When you can't concentrate on your work or you feel distracted, your stomach's doing somersaults because you just made a really big mistake. Seasickness is not limited to the water. We can feel sick on solid ground because it is hard to acknowledge we were wrong, and sometimes our mistakes are even more difficult to correct. Well, Jesus has brought the disciples off the boat and north of the Sea of Galilee to an area called Caesarea Philippi. It's a couple days' walk from the sea. It's about 25 miles. But it also happens to be the headwaters of where the Sea of Jordan, or the Jordan River, begins, which then feeds down into the Sea of Galilee. Caesarea Philippi is an out-of-the-way place. It is a very non-Jewish place. Temples and caves were built into the great rock face, homage to the Greek gods Zeus and Pan. Now, the rock face behind it is 70 feet tall, and it rises above a nature reserve in the center of the city of Caesarea. The disciples come to this place and they just stand at awe at the mammoth nature of it. but it is also a place of rivers and waterfalls. And that's the peace that calls Jesus there. It's a reflective place. It's a secluded place. I want you to imagine Jesus sitting down in this place with the disciples. The water's falling behind you. There's a cool breeze blowing. It's nothing like the windy shores of the Sea of Galilee. And yet, the disciples feel just a little uneasy because Jesus is suddenly getting really serious. He asks them, "Who do people say I am?" I mean, people are saying lots of things. People talk about preachers all the time. He wants to know what they're saying. Andrew responds, "Well, some say you're John the Baptist." Judas pipes up. "Some say you're Elijah." Thomas joins in. "Some say you're Jeremiah the prophet." But Simon Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of God." Now, Christ is an important designation. It is not Jesus' last name. It's an important title. It is the Greek equivalent to the Hebrew word for Messiah, the anointed one. It signifies for us that Peter knows exactly who Jesus is. Jesus then calls Peter Cephas, or the rock, which is why he has led them to this place. For that rock, that face that rises above him is a sign that Peter will be the church's rock, the massive foundation that the church will be established against. And then our story takes kind of a right turn. Jesus says, "But don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know. The world cannot know yet." And Jesus explains that he's going to die and he'll be raised again. And Peter grabs Jesus and says, "This won't happen to you." I think, for me, I have a bit of a distant relationship with Jesus. And so the thought of someone grabbing Jesus feels so foreign to me. But Peter would have known him. Peter would have been in an intimate relationship with Jesus. And so he grabs him. And yet then he proceeds to correct him. Some scriptures say that he scolded him. Other versions say that he rebuked him. It all means it did not go well for Peter. It was a huge mistake. Jesus said, "You're looking at this situation with your human eyes, and I can't do that. I have to look at it with God's eyes, and that means there will be death. And don't talk me out of this, Peter. Let it happen." It's a huge mistake. And Peter has got to feel like he's right back on that boat in the middle of a storm, rocking back and forth. Sometimes I think we make faith way too complicated. I don't know about you, but I think life is hard enough as it is for folks, and we need to not make religion difficult. I remember a seminary class where the professor asked, "Who is Jesus?" And one student replied with this phrase, "Jesus is the eschatological manifestation of the ground of our being, the charisma of which we find meaning in our interpersonal relationships." Way too complicated. Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus came to save you. That's all we need to remember. The deeper theological question for me is, why Peter? What's so special about Peter that he's the rock of the church? I mean, there is no 8-year candidacy process for ordination for Peter like there is for us in the United Methodist Church. There's no seminary. In fact, Jesus picked the one who blurted out the wrong answer more than he blurted out the right one. The reason Peter is chosen, because only those who've been seasick can help others. Only those who make mistakes and find forgiveness can lead others to reconciliation. Jesus is making clear the point to us that we have to know forgiveness, that to experience God is to experience reconciliation. Jesus tells us that to follow him, we have to let go of our anger and our hatred and our resentment and our pride. And we have to forgive others. And we have to forgive ourselves. The next chapter begins this way. 6 days later. I don't know what happened in those 6 days. I don't know what reconciliation or forgiveness looked like for Peter, but I know that the next story, Jesus takes Peter and Simon, James and John, the 4 fishermen, and he takes them up to the mountain and he is transfigured. Only those 4 witness one of the most holy stories of the book of Matthew. And what that tells me is that Peter triumphs, and then he stumbles, and then he rises again. If Jesus can forgive, you can forgive. If the rock of the church can be forgiven, you can be forgiven. May you triumph. May you stumble.